guys! So it's Christmas time and I got an early gift. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why are you so excited about that thing? It's online garbage! Yes, complete stranger on the internet, it is online garbage. But I've been wanting to go busking for a while now, and a couple years back I got a weather-induced injury on my poor good violin, and it was very expensive, and ever since then I've been so protective of it. So I've been wanting a very cheap, pretty much worthless violin so that way I wouldn't feel guilty if it gets damaged. And if I got a decent student violin, I'd still feel guilty because I would then think, but I could be giving this to a future student to borrow, but I would just be wrecking it, and yeah. So I have swallowed my pride as a music major and gotten a painted violin. So now that all you serious musicians hopefully won't shun me, onto the review. I'll be dividing this video up in 3 sections. First, I'll be talking about how the violin holds up with just the products that it comes with. Then I'll be doing some modifications to it and talking about how it is improved. And then I will be doing demonstrations comparing the sound of it so you can hopefully hear on the camera how good it is with what it comes with, how good it is after I do the modifications, and then a comparison with my good violin. So I will be starting with the extra things that come with the outfit. The case isn't bad, I guess. I doubt it protects against the elements that well, but this violin is meant to be as affordable as possible, so no surprise there. What I do like, and I think this is the same for all Mendini and Cecilio cases, are the built-in backpack straps. The only thing that I really hate about this case is where the bow spinners are placed. They're way too far down, so it is a really tight fit for the bow. It comes with an extra bridge, just in case if the one you have gets like warped or whatever. The shoulder rest that comes with it, I'm not really too fussy about. You can see here it's very small. It's kind of meant as a one-size-fits-all kind of a design, so that way they can give it to all their different violins rather than making different sizes. And as you can see, when I adjust it to make it a full size, it's very small in comparison to your shoulder. Here, I'll put it on the violin so you can see. Yeah, so it's, oh, it's hard because this is black. Yeah, so as you can see here, hopefully, it is very small in comparison. Like, there's a lot of space here and here. So it's not very comfortable at all. I really suggest to only use it if you lose your own, or if you're so tight on money that you can't even afford one, but that shouldn't be the case. Like, shoulder rests are pretty affordable. However, if you're getting just a smaller size violin, like a 3.5 or quarter, it'd probably be fine. But for a full size, no. Like, just no. The rosin is basically garbage. Like most violin outfits, that's not really much of a surprise. But I found that with this rosin, for some reason, it seemed to take longer for me to get started than the rosins that I normally use. Or maybe it was just me imagining things. And as you can see here, I even got frustrated with it and started scratching at it, which is fine to get a rosin started. It's just, I normally don't do it. I normally I've never had to do it, but I had to for this one, which is interesting. The bow, as I expected, is the cheapest bow I have ever seen. But it is light, which is a plus. I remember with my first full-size violin, the bow that I had was very heavy and it didn't allow me to do certain things as easily, but this one's nice and light. Another thing is that when you get instruments in the mail, oftentimes the bows come with a lot of broken hairs. With this one, though, there was hardly any broken hair, so that was something I was a bit impressed with. The frog, instead of being made of, like, I'm not sure what frogs are made of, I'm not a luthier, it's made of, like, a strange feeling, coarse wood type thing. I'm not sure how else to describe it. It comes with an extra pack of strings, which belong in the garbage. They are nice to have for a backup in case if you snap a string, but really you should not be using these strings at all. That actually transitions into my review of the instrument itself, because the strings are probably my worst complaint out of the whole thing, which is actually a good thing. I found that I especially hate the G string, because I found that when I would play a very long and loud note, so a lot of arm weight and slow bow speed, it made this really awful sound that no string should be ever making. I found that after playing really hard on all the strings for a couple hours, it started to get better, though. Let me see if I can just do it a little bit just so you can see. It may not work, though. So that crunchiness should not be sustained through the whole thing. It was worse, believe it or not. But if that's as good as it's gonna get, not happy. So starting from the top down, the tuning pegs aren't actually properly set. I'm not sure if you can see it with my really bad camera. No, you can't. Yeah, you can't because of it. Oh, yeah, you kind of can tell. Basically, the pegs are not right up to the edge of the holes. Like, there's a bit of space in there, and they shouldn't be like that. But I've been finding it hasn't really affected how well the pegs are holding. So I'm not all too fussy about that. As long as the pegs are holding and they're moving smoothly when I'm tuning, it's fine for me. The bridge, I found it isn't exactly made for this instrument per se. There were hardly any indents pre-made for the strings, and I found it's a little bit high, like the strings are raised a bit higher from the fingerboard than what I'm used to. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just different. The tailpiece has built-in fine tuners, which are great for if you're a beginner. For me, I'm not really a fan of these types of tailpieces, so I'd rather have the fine tuners that you can take on and off. The chin rest is a bit low, so it's not that great if you have a long neck like me, but I do like the shape of it. So what affects their comfort level with chin rests are the shape and the height. Another thing is that it does have nickel in the metal for the clip. And if you're like me, who has an allergic reaction to different metals, that's not a good thing. So I will be changing this chin rest for my own comfort. Now is the time that you've all been waiting for. How does it sound? Does the paint hinder the overall quality? The answer is, drumroll please, not great, but it's actually better than I expected. When I was in middle school, my first full-size violin was awful and I couldn't get any volume out of it. The sound quality was okay, but since I had that experience, I kind of think as long as the violin is better than that, then it's okay. And this violin, I can get volume out of it, which is much better than that old middle school violin. But the quality of the sound isn't that great, but we'll see if it has more to do with the strings, and if I change the strings, if it will be improved. So I'll be doing some modifications to the instrument and hopefully make it better. And I'll be posting another video on what to do when you first get the instrument and how to do these modifications and whatnot. I'll have a link to it somewhere once it's posted. Here, I'll put it here. So if you want to click that, you can go ahead. And now, get ready for a violin makeover in 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! So, just for a quick overview, I changed the chin rest, mostly for my own comfort. I changed the strings to dominance, and normally for the E string I use Piastro Gold, but for this violin I decided to just use the E string that came in the pack. I have my own Wolf Forte Primo shoulder rest, and I will also be combining it with my own carbon fiber bow. I found that with the new strings it actually does sound a lot better. I'm not getting any of the scratchiness that I was getting before, and the violin really rings, like a lot more than you would expect from a cheap online violin, especially a painted one. The sound quality is meh, but to me, volume is more important for quality. Like, come on, it's a cheap violin. You expect the quality to not be awesome, but for the volume to be really good, like, that's a good plus for me. And the paint job, I'm not really sure how much it's actually affecting the sound. Like, there's lots of people who say that it makes it sound muffled and whatever, but for me it's really hard to tell without actually having the same model but not painted with me in order to compare. Another thing is that with brand new violins, like, they usually do sound muffled, and it takes a little while for it to, like, open up. So that could be at play as well. Like, it is a new violin, so I won't really know until, like, a few weeks to a month, depending, like, on how much I actually do play on this thing. Like, it is a bit muffled, but I've seen other violins that aren't painted that sounded more muffled at first. So that's kind of a iffy thing. So, would I recommend this violin? No, really try to save up your money and get a better violin, but for my purposes, it's fine. Like, for me, as long as I can play out, like, it works for me. For my purposes of going up against harsh weather conditions outside with busking and whatever. So really it depends what you want out of it. I also certainly would not be happy if, like, a student of mine walked into the studio with one of these, but it would not make me want to go right to the music store right then and there rent out a few violins and be like, you are picking one and you are not coming back with that violin. Like, that's not my feelings at all. It's more like, I wouldn't be happy, but I would be patiently waiting until that student gets a better one. Yeah, and I guess if I would quantify it, if you have like an $18,000 violin here and a violin-shaped object here, this would be where it is, like just above the violin-shaped object. Like, there are some people who do call these violins violin-shaped objects. I wouldn't put it in that category. Like, I really didn't have to do any modifications to it that I need to go for a luthier for. Like, it would have been nice if the pegs were set better, but they're working, they're not slipping, so I'm not worrying about it. Whereas I would put a violin-shaped object in a category where it's falling apart, it sounds awful, and you need serious modifications to it. So it's not in that category. It is one up from that. The only time you should really get this particular violin is if your budget absolutely does not allow you to get anything better. But really, I'd say wait on it and invest into a better instrument. Or if you're like me and specifically want a bad violin for a particular reason. And that, my friends, are my thoughts on the Mendini color violin. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for another video, also let me know. If you liked this video, click like, and do what every other YouTuber asks you to do and click this thing.